Dear student, welcome back to Gyan Kiran. Dear student, in this session we are discussing about displacement reactions. There are mainly two types of displacement reactions: single displacement reaction and double displacement reaction. Dear student, first we need to understand single displacement reaction. What is single displacement reaction? With the help of activity 1.9, now we have to understand single displacement reaction. In this activity, you have to take two iron nails and clean them by rubbing with sandpaper. In this experiment, you have to take two iron nails and you have to clean these nails with the help of sandpaper. And then take about 1 ml of copper sulfate solution in the test tube. In one test tube, you have to take copper sulfate solution and then carefully immerse one of the nail inside the copper sulfate solution. Then you have to immerse one of the nail inside the copper sulfate solution and keep other nail for comparison only. Don't immerse other nail, you have to keep it for comparison. And about 15 to 20 minutes, after 15 to 20 minutes, take out the nail from the copper sulfate solution. So here, after 15 to 20 minutes, you have to take out the nail which is already kept in copper sulfate solution. And then you have to observe the nail, a brownish substance is formed on the iron nail. After removing the one of the nail which is kept in copper sulfate solution, you will observe that there is a brownish layer on the surface of iron nail. And at the same time, the solution will have turned greenish. So the solution also turns into green color. In the reaction, iron displaces copper from the copper sulfate solution. So here what happens in the reaction? In this reaction, iron displaces copper from the copper sulfate solution, and hence the brownish color of the ion is formed. The brownish color of ion is due to the deposition of displaced copper. So here whatever the brownish color is formed on the ion surface, it is mainly due to the deposition of displaced copper. The greenish color of the solution is due to the formation of copper sulfate. Dear student, in this reaction what happens? The ion displaces copper from the copper sulfate solution. Remember, the ion displaces copper from the copper sulfate solution. And we will find a brownish color on the surface of the iron nail. This color is because of deposition of displaced coppers. The brownish layer on the surface of the nail indicates it is a deposition of copper. And why the solution turns into green color? What happens here? The green color of the solution is mainly due to the formation of iron sulfate. This is what is known as single displacement reaction. This activity clearly indicates single displacement reaction. Dear student, now we can summarize the activity in this way. We have known that ion element is very active and it displaces a less active copper element. Here, the copper element is displaced by highly active ion element. In this reaction, ion displaces copper. Ion displaces copper from its salt solution copper sulfate. We can depict the displacement reaction in this way. Here, Fe reacts with copper sulfate solution, and copper in copper sulfate solution displaced by ion, and it results in the formation of ferrous sulfate, and at the same time copper also produced. The copper produced in this reaction deposited on the nail in the form of the layer. The copper which is produced in the reaction deposited on the surface of the nail, and simultaneously the solution turns green because of formation of ferrous sulfate. This is the summarization of displacement reaction. Dear student, let us understand other examples of displacement reactions. Here, two examples we have to consider. In these two examples, two metals are used like Zn and lead. Here, zinc and lead are the two metals which are reactive in nature. So these two reactive metals displaces copper from the compound. Let us see the first example. Here, the metal zinc is made to react with copper sulfate solution. And what happens? Zinc is more reactive and hence it displaces copper from the compound and it forms zinc sulfate solution. In this example, zinc react with copper sulfate solution and replaces copper. In the second example, lead reacts with copper chloride and it results in the formation of lead chloride and copper displaced. In both of these examples, you will see that copper is displaced. Dear student, zinc and lead both are more reactive than copper and hence they replace or displace copper from its compounds. These are two examples reveals displacement reaction. Dear student, let us understand double displacement reaction. Dear student, let us understand double displacement reaction with the help of activity. Here in this activity, you have to take 3 ml of barium chloride solution in the test tube. First, you have to take 3 ml of barium chloride solution in a test tube, and then you have to add the same quantity of sodium sulfate solution. You have to add 3 ml of sodium sulfate solution. You have to take the same quantity of 3 ml of sodium sulfate solution to it, that is to the previous test tube, and shake well to ensure proper mixing of the two solutions. To mix properly both of these solutions, you have to shake well. And soon after, we observe that there is a formation of a white substance. When we mix both of these solutions, we will find there is a formation of white substance. This white substance is insoluble in water. This insoluble white substance is known as it is a precipitate. The white substance which is formed in the test tube is nothing but it is a precipitate. In this reaction, the barium sulfate is act as a precipitate. The white precipitate which is formed in this reaction is known as it is a barium sulfate. And another product formed during this reaction is sodium chloride. Here in this reaction mainly two products are formed. One is barium sulfate and another one is sodium chloride. In this reaction what happens? A chloride ion which is present in barium chloride and sulfate ion which is present in sodium sulfate. Both of these are exchanged and result in the formation of barium sulfate and sodium chloride respectively. Dear student, here what happens? Two ions are exchanged. Those are chlorine from barium chloride, sulfate from sodium sulfate. So both the sulfate and chlorine ions are exchanged and hence This reaction is nothing but it is a displacement reaction. Dear student, and hence double displacement reaction is nothing but it is a reaction in which two reactant compounds, remember, in which two reactant compounds exchange their positive ions and results into new compounds. This is what is known as double displacement reaction. So these equations, chemical equations, these following chemical reactions represents double displacement reaction. Dear student, in the next session we will discuss about question and answers with respect to displacement reactions. Thank you.